When you play a game, especially in an open world, you have these things called side quests that present themselves to you in the game. Side quests, side missions, whatever you want to call them. By definition, a side quest is optional, meaning that it is not something that has to be completed to beat the game or finish the game. However, side quests provide a richer experience during the game, and you often come away with a special story or inventory item, or just the unique experience that you didn't know you would have. It's also a useful distraction when you hit points of frustration on your journey. Join us as we launch out onto the loop and discuss mandatory side quests on Curiosity Continuum.
Hey everybody, this is Brian.
And this is Josh.
Thank you for joining us today on Curiosity Continuum. For those of you tuning in for the first time, Curiosity Continuum is a podcast and movement started by two lifelong friends who want to spark your curiosity, help you integrate information, and enhance your everyday contextual awareness in a constantly changing world by sharing conversations with you that explore, examine, and reframe common practical topics.
So where you guys can find us, you can find us on the web at www.curiositycontinuum.com. From there you can listen to us, and you can also subscribe to us on your podcast service of choice, which we really wish you would do, so that way you guys can get notifications when we have a new episode, which is every Monday, by the way. Also, follow us on social media. You can interact with us there, and you can rate us as well.
So jumping into today's episode, mandatory side quests, we want to make sure we bring everybody along on the journey. So not everybody may be as familiar with gaming. And
right.
Josh alluded to a little bit in the intro, but I want Josh to give just a little bit of a primer for the non-gamers about this, like why these things exist in a game and kind of like why they're important.
Sure. And I'll kind of give a little history of it too. Like a lot of times in gaming, or like when you're a game and you're playing like an old school game especially, like there wasn't really a lot of side things to do. It was just kind of like, we did this, we did that, we got to the end of the game. As games became more and more involved, they had more expectation on games of like time spent in a game because your money is valuable, all that. So people started putting optional things to do in the games. Like if it's like a Zelda game, for example, like you may have this optional quest to go over here and do something that doesn't have anything to do with the main story, but you can just go do it. And you can have some fun. And then you maybe get, like Brian, like we said in the beginning, that you might get like a useful item or something just to take with you on your journey.
Yeah.
You know?
And this is obviously a very thinly veiled analogy for things in your life.
Yeah.
Especially in the culture where it's all about trying to hustle or do things. Really, there's a purpose that should drive itself through everything that you're doing. And more than just like trying to grind it out, whatever like that. There's really like these important respite areas. Even if you're in the world and you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, I know for myself, when I have taken side quests, I like it because sometimes when you're like trying to just go for whatever goal it is, you need to rest.
It's exhausting.
It is terribly exhausting.
Yeah.
Or you've beat your head against the wall for the 127th time on the same problem and you cannot get past it.
Right.
And this is when like, I need a side quest.
This kind of like reminds me of actually when I used to play old Nintendo games when I was a kid. I would be trying to beat a level, for example, over and over and over. And when I would stop and actually go outside or go do something, come back, it was like first try I would be able to beat it again. So like this is kind of like that in the game doing that for you.
Yeah.
It's like if you're getting bored or you're getting frustrated, first of all, gaming should never be this chore that we think.
Yeah.
And life shouldn't be that way either. It shouldn't be like a chore that you just feel like, oh, look, I'm just dotting these I's, crossing these T's until I'm coasting out here. You know, that's just not what
you're doing it wrong if that's
if that's what your attitude is, you're doing it wrong. So, and that's kind of like this whole thing too. So that's why you shouldn't just focus on the main objective, which is maybe this or that. You should just maybe go and kind of do some other things.
Yeah, and I know that even if it's a purposeful. So I remember back in college, I had this college professor that taught you how to rotate subjects that you did for homework, where if it was one side of the brain, you'd go to the other side of the brain. So math and science, and then like
Sure.
take an hour.
So you'd feel
Yeah,
rested.
you rested back and
Yeah.
forth. And sometimes too, you're in like a subject or you're doing something where it's like, I cannot get out of this. I have to get through this part of something of my life, my job or something like that, where you like, that's it. Like there's kind of like the stopping point. And sometimes you just need to like take a breather and go off and do something completely different, not related to the task, to be able to get your
Yeah.
enthusiasm back.
Get your mind in the right recharge.
Yeah. And just do it. And that's a wonderful thing. I mean, like the practical example of this in people's lives is like a vacation.
Yeah, a holiday. Yeah.
Yeah. It's you're taking a side quest like I'm going to somewhere. I'm going to go see somebody. You know?
Right. You're just I'm going to go do something that I don't normally do and have some fun.
Yeah. And there's a podcast we did called the Necessity of Rest, which is a good one, all about rest. And this kind of ties into it. Although, you know, with a side quest, it's not a resting thing. It might be a doing thing. And
It's just like a recharge. It's doing something different.
yeah. I know like my daughter she loves to knit. It was my
Yeah.
mom that actually instilled that in her. Like, here's how you can crochet or knit and Afghans and stuff like that. And she really enjoys it. And it was a really nice analog break for her, especially in a world where there's always devices and there's always things.
And everybody's always got their head down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is your head down, but it's
Yeah, it's your
doing
head down,
something a
but
little
it's
different.
doing something different. It's a more tactile experience.
Yeah.
So
Those, I think, especially as you're young, we as adults, I think you lose sometimes the perspective that you need those things to function
Sure.
well.
Well, because I think also for like you and I especially, we had those growing up. They were all over the place. So we never really thought that would just be one day they would be gone.
Yeah, or
And then
rare.
I think when they were gone, we didn't really know it right away.
That's fair, because people they go, why do I not? They kind of
Why do I not feel like I hear this a lot. Like people come in from work like after a day off or something. They're like, "Man, I feel more tired now than when I was working all the time."
Yeah,
And I'm thinking it's because maybe you're just not doing it. You're not, they're trying to get caught up on everything in their life in 24 hours
right.
that probably is impossible to do anyway.
Yeah,
So they're cramming it all just like they do their work schedules.
Mhm.
When in reality, we should be really elongating this out and taking more time.
and doing less things. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of folks that will teach this, but there's a guy in particular. His name is Michael Hyatt, and he is like a leadership personality and leadership coach, and he helps people build business and do things like that. And he's a very successful CEO, has built a very successful company in the Nashville area. And when he talks about how to prioritize certain things, he's talking about like, what are the 3 things you got to do today?
Yeah.
And then what are like maybe the 3 goals or whatever like that, and it goes
Yeah.
out from there. But it's 3 things.
Yeah.
How many times do you wake up in the day and there's 25 things on your list and it just pulls at you?
Right.
And you don't have to accomplish all 25. What are the 3 most important things you need to do? And all of a sudden you're doing that very well, and you know that those are the most important things.
And so you do these 3 main things, and then maybe you'll go do some other stuff.
yeah.
And so you'll vary your day, which you'll be more productive at work.
Yes.
You'll feel better. Like overall, I mean, I know you will, because you won't have all this just weight of all this stuff you got to do. And I'm thinking too, this is going to take some practice. I don't think a lot of people could do this and just be like, tomorrow I'm going to go to work. I'm going to do 3 things, and then I'm going to do 5 things that aren't related to work.
Right.
I'm going to be okay. But it's a thing that you got to practice on.
It's also making sure that you prioritize a side quest.
And what's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, I'll put it this way: if you don't prioritize your ability to put your batteries in the charger and do it some way somehow,
It's going to happen.
it's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's going to happen when you don't want it to.
Exactly.
And you might be in a world of hurt for a while.
Because we are human beings and we all have
We have limitations.
to it.
Yeah.
How many times have you approached a problem where you just left it for a moment and all of a sudden like, oh, I got it now?
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I was alluding to, like when I used to play games when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I would be like trying on this one level over and over and over. And I'd just be like, you know what? Just stop.
Yeah.
And just do anything else. I mean, play another game, for goodness sake. But
Something.
just go.
Yeah.
And when I came back to it, it would be like, oh, that's like the first thing. I have done this in my own life, like with problems. I have, like, if I have a computer problem or I'm taking something apart or a car problem, I sometimes just say, I'm on it. I don't see the obvious answer because I'm so in it.
Yep.
And I just like, I back off. I come back. I reset. I maybe a day or two later, I come back to it, and it's like, here you go.
I've run into this in my professional life too, where
Yeah.
it didn't take you in your business or something like that overnight to get to where you were. There's a lot of other little decisions that go along the way, and so
Right.
um,
I say that a lot. Like I say to people, I said, this didn't happen in a day. So why do you expect it to like undo itself in a day?
right,
It's like even like with anything in life, even if you're in like heavy debt. I mean, it's like that didn't happen in one day normally.
normally, yeah,
I mean that happened over a course of time with
yes,
things happening to you. So it's like you have to have like a reverse course to get out of it to do this thing. So this is what we're saying. We're saying, like all this stuff, this enrichment in your life,
yeah.
all the little things really do matter.
And oftentimes, sometimes it's the little struggles like that, or the thing that didn't go perfect, where you have the like on vacation, like something went wrong, you got a
Yeah,
flat
or you got
tire.
lost.
Yeah,
It's like, and then you had like a memorable experience that you remember your whole life.
yeah,
Or you have something that like, and then when you got done with that, you're like, oh man, that was like exhilarating
yeah.
because it was something that, you weren't planning. It wasn't structured. It just happened to you and you reacted to it on like a human level.
How often do we get lost now, though?
I mean, I get lost all the time. I'm lost now, I'm just talking,
I mean,
But no, I know what you're
yeah,
saying though, but I'm not saying like lost maybe in like the literal term. I'm saying like if you're doing something that maybe you should just put down the structure part of it sometimes
mm-hmm.
and just say, I'm just going to do it. And if I fail at it, well, you know what? I'll just try it again.
Yeah. There is no goal sometimes,
Yeah.
except that. Well, that's the goal. I mean, you can't have an absolute negative without affirming the
Right.
existence of a positive.
Right.
But this life requires so many things to check the box, to
Right.
be done, to do.
Right.
And if you have to check the box, like, what's the box that we're going to check today? It's, or in this little thing, it's like, there's no point other than diversion. Now, the balance here is that if all you do is side quests,
Yeah,
you
that's the
never do
problem.
complete the mission.
The mission. So, I mean, yeah, you do need a balance. But what we're saying too is I think a lot of people just forget their mainlining. I do have a friend who in pretty much everything he does, but in video games especially, he will just do the main story every time. If it says it's a side quest or he thinks it's a side quest, it's like axed out. He's like, I got the next game to go to. I got the next thing to go play. I got the next experience. But what we're saying is this enrichment, these little things, they matter. They make that whole experience more round and not so rigid.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's life.
It is life.
Yeah.
And you remember the small things
Way more.
than the big
Way
things.
more, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember small interactions with people I've had that maybe I've only had like one time. Or like a different interaction. Like maybe like an interaction with my dad that I wouldn't have had when we were doing something like totally like we wouldn't have done. So like this kind of stuff really does matter.
Yeah, it kind of pulls you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And puts you somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, our encouragement to you, fellow listeners on this podcast, is if you have been mainlining something in your life as far as like, here it is, I just got to go conquer it and then go out and conquer the next thing, take a side quest.
Yeah. Just do that little zig when you should have zagged.
Yep.
Just do that.
See what comes out of it.
Yeah, what's the harm of it,
Yep.
Especially on the weekend. I mean, come on, I know you guys. You guys got time.
So until next time, happy side questing, and we look forward to hearing your feedback on what came out of your experience there. Till then, we're going to put a comma in the conversation. So this is Brian.
This is Josh.
For Curiosity Continuum.